All right, we are live for our launch for the Blow the Whistle on Racism Challenge. Hello, anybody out there who's watching. Welcome to our official launch. It's going to be an amazing afternoon talking to people all over the world, actually. Mostly North America, but we've got some people around the world in different countries who are here to talk about blowing the whistle on racism. My name is Rebecca Chambers, and I am the founder and principal of R.I.S.E Academy. I should be able to remember that. And I am super excited to introduce you to the amazing people who have been involved in a project that we've been working on since the summer. Just before we do that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about R.I.S.E Academy and how we got to where we are. R.I.S.E Academy is a virtual, not-for-profit high school, private high school that works with youth ages 13 to 21 who are, interested in social action and social justice. We use students' passions, motivators, and strengths, and the things that they love, and pair that with looking at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We find issues that they care about, and we work together with community, as you'll see with this project, and they create solutions and they take action. R.I.S.E Academy stands for giving youth the opportunity to reach for the stars, to inspire and be inspired, to soar to higher places, and to be empowered. And I think after you spend some time with us today, you'll see that the group of students who we've been working with have had that opportunity. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to, there's a lot of students who've been involved. They're not all here right now. Some of them are actually on the ice and will be here later on. But the three girls who started this campaign, this started in July, right, ladies? July? We've got here, so we have Savannah Smith. I want to say hello, Savannah. Give us a wave. Hi. Awesome. And we have Maya Peters and Naomi Chambers. Awesome. So these three girls came into our Social Change Maker program. This was before the accreditation. They were younger. They weren't in high school yet. And all three of them played hockey together. And, in the summertime, we were in a place in our world where we were hearing about horrific things happening. We had the incident with George Floyd, and there was a lot of discussion about what can be done and how we as a community can combat racism. And they went to, what they know. And something that we here in Ottawa, Ontario, have noticed, and I think it's quite common in the hockey community, is that it's a very white sport and not necessarily always inclusive. And so we had a discussion about that and decided, what can we do about it? And fortunately, I had a friend who had attended a webinar, and it was led by Dr. Courtney Zito, who you're going to meet later on, and Mr. Bob Dawson, who is on the screen here below me. And I reached out to Dr. Zito and asked if she would be interested in connecting with the youth and doing something with them. And she said, well, you know what? I'm going to connect you with Bob Dawson. He's in Ottawa. And we'll see where it goes from there. So Bob, do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the launch. It's good that
Yeah.
to see all of you here, and I think it will be an interesting and informative day. And I might
Yes.
say that I was impressed by the fact that Naomi, Savannah, and Maya were so bothered that some of their peers um, did not feel safe or welcomed in the on and off the ice during the hockey season. And so they, as Rebecca had indicated, had developed this campaign initiative to help make a difference.
Awesome. Yes. And so we reached out to Bob, and he was right away, no problem. How can I help? Let's do something together. And so we did some brainstorming. We had a lot of conversations on Zoom, the girls and Bob and I, and we talked and we learned. And Bob told us his story, which the girls are going to do a short interview with him afterwards. And it came to the girls that they wanted to do something related to hockey, and we started talking about social media and how we might be able to do something, and we remembered the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, and we were talking about that and thought, hey, maybe we could get a challenge going on Instagram or TikTok, which seems to be the newest craze. And so we again continued to research. We watched some public service announcements, and we spent I thought it would take a long time, but the three of you girls and we got together and we pounded out a script, right, for the video that was made. And then from there, it's become this thing that's been an ongoing project that we've worked on. And we've had new people come and be involved. But before that, we had Fred, who is quarantining in Las Vegas. We're all jealous. Well, I mean, it is a beautiful day here in Ottawa. It is, but it's warming up. But what's the temperature there, Fred?
It's probably 16 out there right now.
Okay, but you're not allowed out there.
I'm allowed to go for walks. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So Fred, I had actually, we go to the gym together, and Bob had mentioned that you had done some work. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I can't remember when we quarantined with Black History Ottawa, and was it a game that you guys put on?
Yes, a commemorative hockey game in January of last year. And that was to celebrate the release of the commemorative stamp for the Colored Hockey League. And we had put on a number of events, one of which was a hockey game at the Canadian Tire Center. Fred was one of the individuals who agreed to play in the game. And usually in our pickup hockey, I often play against him. So this time I made sure I played with him. He's quite a good hockey player. Aside from being a goaltender, yeah, he could very well play out front. But we had a number of individuals from the community who also participated in the game. And the Ascends stepped forward, and a number of their former players took part in the game. There were about 6 of them, and we divided them up evenly, and it made for, I think, a fun-filled evening.
Wonderful. And Fred, so, I approached you at the gym, it's kind of randomly, and said, do you want to hear something that's happening? Would you like to be a part of it? And, you agreed super quickly, and came and people are going to see later on the video. You took part in the video. Can you tell us why you jumped on board so quickly?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I didn't really get to meet the girls. I kind of saw them a little bit, but I think it's great. I think people need to know the stories, and I think people need to know just how things have been and how we could try to change things. So I'm really excited to be a part of this, and excited that you guys actually invited me to be a part of this. So whatever I could do to help and to spread this message out there, just so young kids, old kids, everyone kind of knows what's happening, and just showing our support.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and you can get the Vegas Knights on board and take the challenge.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
There we go. So just as I was saying, this project has started in July and it's continued and it's going to continue. You know, and we've got Kenzie and Owen who have also joined us here today. Kenzie joined us in November on the project. She was in the media arts program at R.I.S.E and did a lot of work with the website and in showcasing BIPOC players. So if you're following on Twitter and Instagram and you're seeing the website, all the stuff done there, Kenzie put together. And so she's been a huge part of that. And Owen has been with us at R.I.S.E since September, but only joined the Blow the Whistle campaign more recently, along with Gracie. They kind of took the reins to prepare for this launch and created all the questions for the interviewees, and have played a huge role and are all going to take part in interviewing some of the amazing people that we have here. All hockey players, all recognizing that, you know, if we're not doing something about it, we're a part of the problem. And so I commend all of you for you know, joining this campaign and taking action. And that's really, you know, what it's about, is that we can all complain about things, we can all recognize that there's problems, but it's those who take action that really make a difference. So we're going to have Savannah, Maya, and Naomi and Bob stay on. And they are going to interview Bob. And we thank you, Fred, for joining us. I'm glad you could fit us into your schedule. It's pretty open right now for virtual calls.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm glad that you invited me out here, and yeah, I want to send my support. I mean, being here in Vegas, and I work with Henderson, which is the AIHL team for the Vegas Golden Knights. But on our team right now, we have Joel Ward, who's another Black hockey player who's on my coaching staff. And with the Vegas team, there's Ryan Reeves. I mean, it's actually very interesting here in Vegas how many different cultures, and I mean, we have Black guys on our team. Our coach Manny Vieras is, I think he's Spanish. I mean, it's just showing how much the sport's kind of opening up. And again, with this thing here, I think it's great that you said, be a part of it. Don't let things happen, and speak up. So I appreciate it. And girls, you've done a great job. So thank you for having me. And hopefully we'll get together at some other point. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Fred.
When COVID's over.
Fred?
Yes?
Yeah. When you're speaking with Joe Ward, mention my name and the fact that he owes me an email.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll pass that on.
Okay.
All
right. Okay. Thanks, Fred. And thanks, Owen and Kenzie. You want to give a wave, and you guys are going to be coming back. We'll see you soon, Owen, to interview Rico Phillips here after Bob here. So if you guys want to leave and come back, that would be fantastic. All right. Well, we're down to 4 minutes for Bob. We're gonna Maya, if you want to start there, and then we'll ask our questions.
Sure. Okay. I just want to say, Bob, thank you for all the work that you've done to get the Blow the Whistle on Racism challenge off the ground. Bob was the first Black hockey player to play in the Atlantic Intercollegiate Hockey League at Sunrise University and made history later on by playing on the first only Black line with Daryl Maxwell and Percy Paris. So now our first question is by Naomi.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, hello. Good to see you.
Why did you decide to work with us and Rebecca on this project?
I think for me, being on the receiving end of racial slurs, harassment, and physical abuse in hockey over the years, I saw this particular initiative as another opportunity to make a difference. And sort of in the words of Martin Luther King, the time is always right to do what is right. And working with you three fine young ladies, I really enjoyed the opportunity because I also learned from you, and hopefully you've learned something through me.
Another question for you, Bob, is on the Blow the Whistle on Racism website, you were quoted saying, "To make hockey safe, more inclusive, and welcoming, it takes each of us to make a difference for all of us." Can you explain to everyone what you mean by this?
I think for me, to make the game more welcoming, safe, and diverse, each one of us has a role to play in that regard, be it a hockey player, be it a coach, or even a hockey administrator. We all have something to contribute to, as I said, making it more welcoming and safe and diverse. And the more that we can do to ensure that, I think the better off the game will be for everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bob. We're going to have you come back at the end. We're going to share all the hard work that we've done and do our launch. We couldn't have done any of this without you. And this is what learning is all about. You mentioned, the learning between, the different generations and,
Yes.
Learning from each other. And it's been fantastic. So thank you. Thank you, ladies. You did a fantastic job. We talked about this already. You started this in the summer, even though you haven't necessarily had your hand in it in a little while. You've started something absolutely amazing. And we've got 2 hours of amazing people coming on to talk about and to have this discussion. So thank you. And we've got Rico Phillips up next. So if you're able to head out, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. All right, Owen is back. Owen's got his good hockey hair going on. And we've got Rico Phillips joining us. Welcome, Rico. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, no worries. I'm just so happy to be here today to speak to you today, Rebecca. It's an honor. And so I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Wonderful. So just for everybody who's not aware, Rico Phillips is the Director of Cultural Diversity and Inclusion for the OHL, for the Ontario Hockey League. He is also the winner of the Willie O'Ree Hero Award that he got in 2019. Unbelievable. Owen here is going to interview you. Owen plays for the Navan Brads. Yes, yeah. Junior A hockey. And is going to ask you some questions.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, Rico, for coming on to be a part of the launch. Can you tell us about how you got into your role as Director of Cultural Diversity and Inclusion for the OHL, and what does the job entail?
Yeah, so on the way I I, I, I got into the role is very interesting. I was, as was mentioned by Rebecca, I was the winner of the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award in 2019. And what that did is open up this platform for me to be able to talk about diversity and inclusion. I'm also a high school hockey referee, on ice hockey referee here in the state of Michigan. And what I was able to do was take the award, the actual physical trophy with me into the locker rooms post game and talk with so many high school players from all across our state and even from outside of our state about what diversity inclusion is and why it matters and why what you say matters. And then also about what community involvement means and how it can give you rewards that you never can calculate. And in this case, it created an award for me, which was the Willie O'Ree Award. And so it was great because I went to Las Vegas to the NHL Awards to receive the award. And when I tell the story and I was passing around the award, how the weight of that award is the players would look at it as they held on to it and I passed it around, they passed it through the locker rooms. It was incredible. Well, I was able to use my platform to speak to the Ontario Hockey League in the fall of 2019 about how to help the OHL franchises connect with the non-traditional fan base and the under-indexed sections of their community. And so it opened up dialogue between myself and the OHL. And then some time went by. I was really on a big roll. I was doing things like storybook things. I was invited to Ottawa by the Ottawa Senators with the award, and they gave me a team signed jersey, which is back there behind me. And but not only that, they treated me. It gave us a suite and during the game announced, "Here's Rico Phillips from Flint, Michigan." I mean, this is 9 hours away from my home. And I skated in the canal, during the Winterfest over there. So things that I never imagined doing. And one of the things that a lot of people, I want to tell the story real briefly because it's hard to put into words. I want to hopefully take you to your imagination. I had the awesome privilege of doing the ceremonial puck drop at a Detroit Red Wings game, which is our hometown team, so to speak. We're about 60, 70 miles north of Detroit, and I've been a Red Wings fan for some time. And before I was able to drop the puck, I was walking down the hallway, and the gentleman I was working with, he says, "Oh, by the way, Coach wants you to come into the locker room and give a pregame speech and read off the starting lineup." So any of you that are hockey purists, and I myself was a youth coach and I knew the gravity of that situation. I go in there with no preparation. And here I am, and I've got every professional Red Wing that was playing suited up that night looking at me. And I had to say some inspirational words, and it was just a moment that I'll never forget. And the reason I tell you that is because I was on this huge, I'm not sure where this is going to take me. And then the pandemic hit and everything came to a screeching halt. And I was kind of left on a cliff. So I wasn't trying to decide what I was going to do next necessarily, but I was just kind of waiting to see what was happening with the pandemic as like all of us were concerned about our health. And then George Floyd was killed here in the United States. And when that happened, I was trying to find my place, like where I needed to speak out. I needed to say something, but I needed to do it in a constructive way that made sense, not just saying this was wrong, because everybody that watched that, I'd say 99% of people watched, I knew that was a wrong incident and that there was a real serious problem that was existing not only in the United States, but also North America. At that point, I kind of just went out on a limb, and this is how it all connects. And I emailed David Branch, the commissioner of the Ontario Hockey League, and asked him what I could do to help with diversity and inclusion. And that led to several phone calls, and it ultimately led to the creation of my position, which is the Director of Cultural Diversity and Inclusion. So that's how I got the role. I know that's a long version of it, but I think it's an interesting story. But my role, what it entails, is I'm a strategist. So while people say, well, we'll have a diversity, equity, inclusion program, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's a strategy. And so my role is to create a strategy to make for a more inclusive environment by everybody, from every player all the way up to David Branch, the commissioner, all the way across the board, including fans. And so it's a lofty task, but it's one that I've been met with open arms. So I'm very, very happy, 7 months into the role.
Talking with David Branch and creating strategies. What are your strategies to make the OHL more inclusive?
That's a great question. And since that, there's a lot. So what we did first is we decided that Rico, Phillips, having virtually a very limited experience with the Ontario Hockey League. We have a team here in Flint known as the Flint Firebirds. I'm very close to the team for a lot of reasons. One of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that we kind of got our finger on the pulse of the OHL from a cultural standpoint. So I interviewed 7 BIPOC players of color that had played in the Ontario Hockey League within the last 3 seasons. And the idea was to find out how their experience affected them from a cultural standpoint. And so what we were able to do is not just ask them, well, what was it like? We were able to take them all the way back to their youth hockey days and say, what was your experience like from then all the way moving forward? So with that being said, we're able to find out what a strategy would be. And one of the first ones was to recognize something that was really, really important. That 6 of the 7 that I interviewed reported to me that the first time they'd heard a racial taunt or slur was between the ages of 8 and 11, and it was at an ice hockey rink, not in their neighborhoods, not at their houses or anywhere else that they would coexist with people, was at ice rinks. And it wasn't necessarily against opposing teams. It was in the locker room. It was what coaches may have said or parents may have said. And so that was a red flag for me personally. Like, we're trying to work with players between the ages of 16 and 20 who may have already come from a broken situation where the standard wasn't set when they were little kids. So one of my strategies has been to work with the local minor hockey associations and talk about this topic on the real level. So I talked with the North Ontario Hockey Association, the Ontario Hockey Federation. The list goes on. And the idea is to make this connection between the OHL and minor hockey, because a large number of the players that make it to the O live and grow up in Ontario. And so what we're trying to do is say the standard needs to be set when the kids enter the door, not when we come up to the OHL and Rico is supposed to figure out how to manage this. So my second strategy was to find out how we can connect to the players. And by that, I mean, not just say, hey guys, it's me, Rico, I'm the OHL director, and if you need anything, call me. It was more like, hey, this is time for us. The timing is of the essence for us to open up dialogue when it comes to race relations, when it comes to marginalized people's relations. That would be someone from a different sexual orientation, different genders, different religions, the whole gamut. We needed to open up dialogue. So players didn't just say, okay, there's a policy in place that we need to follow, but they needed to understand why that policy is there. It's to protect them, but also to make sure they understand that that policy is there to help create a standard. So whether they come from a rural or suburban world where there's no people, I mean, I tell players all the time, Owen and Rebecca, that it's not your fault where you're growing up, all right? You grow up in whatever community. If there's no Black people or people of color or a real diversity in your community, it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility to look outside of your community, look outside your culture to get a better understanding, because the more you understand or seek to understand, the better you are as a person, the better you're going to be as a person moving forward, because you're not going to look at a person sideways because they're wearing a hijab, right? You're going to understand that that's part of their culture, their religion, and they're not wearing that to upset you or make you feel like that we're going to take over this country and this is our this nation, and those types of things. I'm just throwing it out there. So these are the type of conversations. It's been part of my strategy with the players.
Wonderful, Rico. Thank you. We're going to have to stop you there, but thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
You have so much to share. We're probably going to, Owen's been busy doing podcasting. We're going to have to come back and do one completely on you.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm sorry to go on and on, but like
that's okay. It's such an important topic.
All right, we'll be back, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much, Rico.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, and up next we have Perry Wilson. We are very excited. Owen is sticking around for another interview here, and Perry Wilson, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. It's an honor. Yes. Hello, Owen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. So Perry is the goaltending coach for the Windsor Spitfires, and a participant in the NHL Coaches Association's BIPOC Coaches Program. I'm going to hand it over to Owen to ask you a few questions.
Thank you for coming on, Perry, to be a part of our launch. My first question is, so at the University of Windsor, you're the goalie coach and you've done a lot of other stints elsewhere. Can you tell us about your coaching career so far?
Absolutely. I've had a wonderful coaching career so far. It all started with the University of Windsor back in 1996. And then I got my first stint with the men's team with the LaSalle Vipers, who were the affiliates to the Windsor Spitfires. And in that time, between that time, I went to New Zealand and helped with their development program and did a lot of their world championships for that country. So I've been very fortunate to travel a lot and see a lot of different coaching and just grow my game. I also worked for Team Canada on the women's side from 2010 to 2015, winning 2 world titles. I won Senior Women's Worlds in 2012, and in the same year, U18 Worlds. So it's been a fun ride. I also did the U17 men's program in 2017.
Nice. Now you're with Windsor. I have a couple of friends on that team from Ottawa. I'm not sure if you know all the players. Would you?
Absolutely.
Pasquale Zito and Kyle McDonald. I've known them both forever.
Is that right? They're both great additions to our program. Great kids. I see them all the time. I use Pasquale this summer actually working with my goaltender. So we've gotten pretty close.
Yeah, I've played with him since I was about 5 years old, and I hung out with him a couple of times this summer.
That's awesome.
What's it like being a player versus a coach?
Coaching for me is much more fulfilling. As a player, I didn't play through the years. Since I was about 10 years old, I moved to Ontario, and my parents really couldn't help me get involved in hockey. And I didn't start playing again until I was in my 20s. And then I realized there was actually nowhere for me to go. So I started coaching, and it's been like a blessing to me. It's something I absolutely love.
That's nice. Have you faced discrimination in either of those roles?
I have. As a player in my 20s and early 30s, I'd go to tournaments, and it's hard to put a finger on it. It's one of those things where you can hear the word, but not really know who it's coming from. It was really unfortunate in the dressing room. There were always, black jokes of other color, and it's just unfortunate. And they look at you and say, "Oh, we don't mean you." And it's like, but guys, that's who I am. And I have to say, as a player, it was a lot harder because you still had to play with them. But as a coach, the one time I really had it was glaring was when I was with the LaSalle Vipers, and we were in St. Mary's, and I had asked, because part of my role was also training the kids, getting them ready to play, and I asked one of the attendants, they had an open room, if we could use the room to warm up the team because it was freezing outside. And he looked at me and kind of, no, that room's not open. So I went to one of my assistant coaches right away, and within 5 minutes, he went back to the exact same guy, asked him the exact same question, and got access to the room. So that was really frustrating. The thing I'll say about hockey as a coach, a lot of it is hidden. You really can't see it, but you know it's there.
Yeah, it's terrible. What is the University of Windsor doing to make hockey more inclusive?
Well, they've done a great job. They've actually created a Skate Against Hate program, and it's run by the university and Kevin Hamlin, the head coach. So it's going around doing different Zoom calls. They did one with Trevor Daly, former NHLer, to talk about his experience. They are talking about doing it with mine. I've had quite a few experiences in my time. A lot of them weren't really hockey related, but it still smacks against, you know, what we're all trying to eradicate, and that is racism across the globe. So it's the one thing, and I must, if I can, the Windsor Spitfires have done an amazing job of inclusivity. I have never been more welcomed. I've never felt more part of a family. It is one thing that I really wanted to illustrate, that things are changing. I would say my first couple years in the OHL wasn't so great, but now I feel like I'm part of the family. So that's super exciting for years to come.
Yeah, well, that's good that you found somewhere you feel comfortable and included. Should be everywhere, and I guess that's the goal. What advice would you give to teens who are trying to become accomplished athletes?
The first thing I would tell them is, you know, write down your goals, write them down, because that gives them life when you do that. So write down your goals. And I would also say to the young athletes, find a mentor. They don't have to be the same sport. They don't have to be the same gender. They have to be driven. And that will help you find your pathway to your sport. So it's not necessarily who, but what they can bring to you. I think those things are super important. And once you write those goals down, develop a plan and stick with it, and challenge yourself to stay out of your own way so you can achieve those goals.
And
Wonderful. Oh, go ahead, Owen.
I'm just going to ask, in terms of around the OHL, we just talked to Rico. He's involved with the OHL as well, make it more inclusive. Are you taking any action or have any plan to sort of create more equality and inclusivity around the league?
Yeah, I would absolutely join any program that is trying to enhance that. I would definitely say joining the BIPOC Coaches Association. They've given us tools to be able to take with us if we do join a group like that. So I'm more than open to join. I've talked to certain people in the OHL about my role and being able to help out in any way. So I'm wide open for that.
Well, thank you. That's good.
Yes, thank you so much, Perry, for taking the time to be a part of this. Really appreciate it, and love, you know, one of the best things about what I do is what I get to learn, and the amount of stuff that I've learned about all these amazing people that are joining us today. And I mean, your work with, we've got lots of hockey players here. I don't know if you noticed, most of them are female.
Right.
And we've been doing a lot of work at looking at, you know, gender equality and then that type of thing.
Absolutely. And I do work on the women's side of the program as well. So I get to see it on both levels. And it's really exciting for me because I feel I can help both the female get in and the, you know, the coaches of color get a foot in the door, which I think is something that's starting to happen. I know in Windsor, there wasn't any question about, you know, if I was good enough to do the job, then I got the job. So
amazing.
It's great.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time again.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Owen, very nice to meet you. Good luck with the rest of the call. I think it's a great idea. And if I can ever be of service, I'd be more than happy to help.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And up next, we have Dr. Courtney Zito. And thank you, Owen. You did a fantastic job. And then I'm sure you're off to hockey today too, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, awesome. All right. So yes, if the two of you wouldn't mind leaving, that would be wonderful.
Okay, have a great day, guys.
Thank you. You too. All right. So up next, We have Kenzie joining us from R.I.S E, and we have Dr. Courtney Zito, who I'm very excited to meet. Dr. Zito, I don't know if you remember, but you were kind of where we started, actually. So one of my friends had attended the webinar that you and I think there were a number of people, but yourself and Bob Dawson had put on related to racism in hockey. And I think that was in like June of last year, last year. And I had reached out and you put me in contact with Bob. So thank you very much.
No problem. It's nice to see where it's come along, and congratulations on the launch.
Thank you. Ooh, and I like your shirt.
Thank you.
The Black Girl Hockey Club. So Kenzie here, she's been a part of the project, and she's going to ask you a few questions.
Awesome.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Kenzie.
Hi, Kenzie.
Thank you so much for being a part of our launch. We really appreciate it. To start off, so you got your PhD from Simon Fraser University, and now you are teaching at Queen's University. You co-authored a policy paper urging hockey organizations and governments to enact policy changes and re-educate coaches, parents, and players and officials in the importance of anti-racism. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what your responses were like from Hockey Canada, the CHL, and the NHL?
Sure. So the policy paper is a result of the 2019 roundtable on racism in hockey that we had at Queen's University, and that was Bob Dawson's brainchild. Our keynote speaker for the event, Eugene Arcan, he was a residential school survivor and a former hockey player, and he only agreed to be part of our event if the discussion was not going to just stay in that room, and that we were going to have to push forward for larger scale change. So the policy paper is really our way of saying, yes, racism in hockey is a problem. Let's get away from the shock and the debate about whether or not racism is actually in hockey. And so let's move forward and be proactive and start holding some folks accountable. So that's kind of the impetus behind the policy paper, is to create a very distinct line and be like, let's move forward from here. The reaction from folks has been generally quite positive. I think it's been downloaded over 6,500 times since we released it last March, which is great. But the response from different organizations has been kind of varied. We've definitely had good meetings with some folks, but for the respect to the change that is happening, it's definitely slower than we would like it to be. But we've had, some starting conversations.
Okay, well, that's good, at least so far. So you've written a book called Changing on the Fly, Hockey in Canada's South Asian Community. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book and what research you did for it?
Yeah, so the book is actually my PhD thesis, really, which is looking at South Asian experiences in ice hockey, specifically in the lower mainland of British Columbia. And it came about from kind of personal experiences I had growing up in South Asian communities, coupled with the increasing popularity of the Hockey Night Punjabi broadcast. And then around the same time, the movie Breakaway debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival. So it seemed like South Asian communities in Canada had a story to tell around hockey, but no one in the academy was really telling it. So I figured maybe I should be the one to help tell the story. So I got to interview lots of players, coaches, and parents, really just to see what their experiences have been like in and around the game. And I think probably one of the biggest takeaways that I had was that it was the first time anybody had asked them what their experiences had been like. So a lot of players were kind of working through their thoughts and memories with me in the moment, and they had some things to say.
Wow. Hockey and multiculturalism are often noted as defining features of the Canadian culture. What has the Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi broadcast done for the South Asian community?
It's a good question. I think it's important because it gives us an alternative way to understand hockey, that there isn't just one way that we watch hockey, that we be a fan, that this is what sports commentary looks like and sounds like. So I think that that's probably the biggest contribution of Hockey Night Punjabi, is that it has expanded what hockey can be. It has expanded job opportunities, and we've seen a lot of increasing crossover between the English broadcast and the Punjabi broadcast. So it gives you more of a sense of what Canada looks like. So I think that that's kind of the big thing.
And you run workshops for the PWHPA. And can you tell us about these workshops and what is involved with it?
Sure. So I guess it started with one session last summer with the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association, and then that turned into monthly sessions with them starting in October. So basically one for this imaginary COVID season that we have per month. And usually it's players that come to me and ask for kind of guidance or help, but in this instance, it was the PWHPA's leadership that came looking for a way to really dive into anti-racism work in a way that we haven't seen in women's hockey. So credit to the PWHPA leadership for sure for their willingness to have some really tough conversations and to prepare themselves for the work that needs to be done. Some of the things that we've discussed so far is just kind of like myths around race and racism. So race is a social construction, whiteness, indigeneity, blackness and Black history. Our last one was on cultural appropriation. So they're not mandatory. They are voluntary. And we've got a good core of, I would say, 45 to 50 players that come and give their, Monday night every once in a while for a Zoom conversation. So it's, I think it's pretty fun. You'll have to ask the players what they think, though.
And is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up here?
No, I think this is a really cool initiative that you have running here, and it's nice to see a schedule of 2 hours of 10-minute interviews or somewhere around there. So I think it's a good way to get your project out there, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for participating with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, folks. Have a good day.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Zito. All right, up next, we have Sadie, who has joined us. Now, the majority of us are in Ottawa, and Sadie has joined us from Markham, Ontario. It's funny because a lot of the girls that have been involved are Nepean Wildcats, and Sadie plays for Durham West, so they can be rivals sometimes. But Sadie joined in with no questions asked because she knew she wanted to do something. She knew that this project meant a lot. And she's been such a trooper in jumping in right away and getting involved in, some of the social media stuff and learning about these different people that we're interviewing. So welcome, Sadie. Thank you so much for.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes. And you will be interviewing Bernice Carnegie. And Bernice is the co-chair of the Carnegie Initiative. She is the daughter of Herb Carnegie, termed as perhaps the greatest player never to play in the NHL, and also the author of A Fly in a Pail of Milk. And I was just saying to our last couple guests, one of the best things about these projects that these kids do, for me as an educator, is what I get to learn alongside them. They have these passions and they care about these issues, and my life has changed dramatically over the years because of these things. So Bernice, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
I'm delighted to be here.
Wonderful. And I'm going to hand it over to Sadie to ask a few questions.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining us again. So Herb was your father, and he's an amazing hockey player and advocate for the community. Can you tell us kind of a bit about his story?
I love talking about my dad. He certainly does have a very compelling and inspiring story. It started, of course, the hockey end of it started when he was a toddler, and they were raised in North York. His parents were from Jamaica, but my dad was raised in North York before North York became the thriving metropolis that it is now. And he could step out of his backyard and there would be ponds. And so he and his brother Auksi used to play hockey until their fingers were all numb and their toes were all numb. And they just absolutely, they say practice makes perfect. Well, I don't know whether you can ever be perfect in a sport, but definitely the practice made him absolutely fabulous as an athlete. And so he and his brother continued to play hockey. And he went to Northern, eventually went to Northern Secondary School because they had a great hockey program there. And he was a year younger than all of the other players, but he was so good, they had to let him on. The team was called Norvac. And now I have thousands of articles about my dad. And I'm reading them from 1930-ish. And they were just like, he got the title back then of being Swivel Hips because he could dipsy doodle and fly his way up the ice and just pretty well dance around all of the players. So I'm listening to, I'm reading all of this stuff and going, wow. And then they're even saying, even before he became a professional hockey player, that he was heading to the NHL. They were saying that before he even started making money at it. So he went up north with his brother, left school, went up north, and they worked in the gold mines up there and played hockey. And so that's where he got his skills. He actually ended up being a historical figure as part of the only black line. He, his brother, and Manny McIntyre from the Maritimes. And they called them the Brown Bombers and the Dark Destroyers, the Ink Spots, the Dusky Raiders. They had all kinds of cute little names in the titles. Some people will say there were racist names, but I don't know that my father thought about it like that. He just thought, gee, you know, we're doing a good job because we keep hitting the headlines over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's how he got started. And, you know, you can go into Google and find the rest of the story about why he didn't actually make it. They do say it was because of race. And he writes about that in his book and how he felt about it. But it is a shame in a way because, you know what? Everybody has something to contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And they lost out by not having him move up into the best of the best.
Yeah. Wow. What advice did your dad give you to kind of deal with adversity and discrimination as a young girl growing up?
Well, my parents didn't talk about racism very much when we were younger. I was raised in the same block that my father was in North York. He bought property from his father, and the community had not changed very much. It was an all-white community. And so for 13 years of my life, I was the only Black student in my classes. And my parents didn't want us to be tainted by racism and how it could make you feel. So we didn't really learn about what my father went through until we were a little older. Of course, we went through our own stuff and felt the pain of racism along the way. But it was as teenagers that we really started to get to understand actually what was happening and what had happened to my dad. So they said what most Black parents said back then, which is you have to try harder because life just isn't fair. Now we you know what, we all know that life isn't fair, but you can't change the color of your skin. And if that's the reason that you're not being treated with equality, what are you going to do about it is the thing. So my parents wanted us to go into the world thinking that we could do anything if we just tried hard enough. And so I watched my dad do so many amazing things because he just knew how to navigate around racism.
So you've kind of recently written a book, A Fly in a Pail of Milk, that looks at your dad's life, his work, and your family. What do you admire most about the work he's done?
Well, I get up every day feeling very grateful that I had the parents that I had. And there's so much to admire about my father. I don't even think that I could tell you. I have 10 pages of small print of all of the achievements and recognitions that my father accomplished through the years. But the thing that he would say that was most important to him was future aces. He started a hockey school, the first hockey school in Canada, back in 1955. And he wrote a values creed called Future Aces in 1956. And he introduced that values creed to the boys in the hockey school because he felt it was more important that they understand the values of life, not just how to play hockey. Because he knew that, most people aren't going to end up being NHLers. They're going to love the sport along the way, and he did. He used to say, I could eat the puck for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I heard him say that so many times. But so it's interesting that his Future Aces credo that he introduced to the hockey players eventually got introduced to the school system and was embraced by hundreds of schools all throughout Ontario and beyond, because some teachers even took it on their practicums to Africa and China and wherever they were going. So my father was most proud of how he helped change views and attitudes that would help young people to feel good about who they were, to empower them so that they wouldn't have to treat people badly, but would see the best in themselves and learn to use the best in themselves to be better people. So my dad would have said future aces above everything was the most important thing to him, because he transformed the lives of actually millions of kids over the 50 years that he was speaking in schools.
Yeah, especially for me, like growing up playing at Herb Carnegie Arena, he's such an inspiration to a lot of people. Yeah.
I think Sadie, Sadie has a younger brother named Charlie. And who's his coach?
Rain.
Well, I had an inkling of who's going to be interviewing me, because there was a little back and forth, and my nephew Rain calls in and he says, are you doing some kind of a something or other on Saturday? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, well, I know who's interviewing you. It's Sadie. And he said, be nice to her. Oh. But you know what, Sadie, it's not hard to be nice to somebody that is working so hard to make changes in life. And I know that all of you young people who are working on Blow the Whistle on Racism fits right in with the way my father felt, the way I feel, because it speaks to what's happening, what has been happening for generations upon generations. But if somebody doesn't do anything about it, we haven't made any progress.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying bravo and brava, because this is truly amazing what you young people are doing. And that's the reason I said yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both so much. Thank you, Sadie, and thank you, Bernice.
Thank you.
I feel like every guest that comes on, I feel like we need an hour show with each one of them. But this is wonderful to be able to kind of get into your world and hear about your father and hear about how many amazing things you're doing, with his legacy. And thank you so much. And Sadie, we'll have you come back in 10 minutes. And Bernice, thank you. I hope that we can continue a connection between yourself and R.I.S.E. and see if we can do some more stuff together.
Well, I would love to do that. I worked for 40 years with young people, and they inspire me every time I see them. And of course, an initiative like this truly takes it over the top.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. And up next, we have Kirsten Downs joining us with Michael. And I'm going to, is it Auksi? Did I say that correctly?
Auksi, but
Auksi.
not to worry.
Auksi. Wonderful. All right. So Kirsten is a member. She just finished up a course at R.I.S.E. Academy. She is also a hockey player. She is supporting our campaign by joining us and helping us out to interview. Mike is a McGill University PhD student focused on Indigenous sport and physical culture. So welcome, and I'm going to pass it over to Kirsten to ask you some questions.
Mike, thank you so much for joining us to talk about the work that you've been doing. Can you tell us about your hockey career? From what we've read, you've had quite the experience.
Yeah, sure. So I've boiled it down to a couple bullet points here. So bear with me. I grew up playing in Toronto, in the Annex, and specifically Seton Village. There's a small rink called Bill Bolton Arena, and that's the hockey association where everything kind of got started. Obviously, being from Toronto, I had lots of access to ice, training, camps, teams, and leagues. I always like to be open about that, obviously. And I was really lucky to attend a bunch of those hockey clinics, like, again, notably, Hockey Tech International was run by a fellow from the former Czechoslovakia, Martin Maglay. And just his approach to the camp was so, work hard, respect the players, respect the coaches, respect the game, and really was where I got my skating legs under me early on. I guess I was also fortunate. My mom sent me to the L'École de Hockey de la Capitale, which was a really wonderful world-class hockey camp out of Quebec City at the University of Laval, and kind of why I still speak French today, which helps. And I was really fortunate. A teammate of mine was working at a goalie school, and the fellow Mike Cicero at the time and in those years of my life really became like a strong male role model for me, a father figure, quite frankly. Then I just kept developing my my shooting and all kinds of really made a couple bucks in the summers. So that was kind of the early on. Played here and there, and then but 2002 I traveled to Sioux Lookout, which is close to Black Sioux First Nation, my home community on my father's side, where he grew up and played hockey. I really had a good chance to reconnect with my Anishinaabe heritage, feel good about myself playing hockey. And then I came back to Southwestern Ontario in Toronto and played some senior A hockey in Brantford, and then got into the University of Toronto and eventually Ryerson for social work and spent some time with their varsity clubs, of course. And even when I finished school, I just took off to Estonia, where my mother is from, and fortunately was able to spend 2 seasons there qualifying for their national team program and got to play with them as well. So in a very short period of time, you can see how hockey has connected me to who I am. And I can tell you that I've had mostly really positive experiences.
Yeah, it sounds like a great experience. Can you tell us any challenges you faced during your career and then some of the more positive experiences you had?
Yeah, sure thing. I've got a couple notes written to myself here. I remember I was only about like 10 years old, and I was at a hockey school that, well-intentioned. Sometimes when the supervision of hockey camps is not great, things can happen in a real hurry. And I just was targeted and belittled verbally and made to cry and embarrassed. No one said anything. And it was just kind of one of those, like, I know if I had been an observer, I may well have not done anything either, but it really stuck out to me. And, there was times growing up where I was like, well, I guess I'm different in some way, but I've always been pretty happy-go-lucky and making friends easily. So that's always been a good part of hockey, but I still remember that moment. I do. Like overall, like my experiences have been quite positive. There was one team I played on that I felt like I was treated poorly pretty consistently. And, sometimes, in competitive sports spaces, like people aren't going to get along if you're competing for spaces. And it's not always easy to say, hey, is it because he's part Indigenous, or because he's working hard in school. He works harder than all of us, and people can resent you for different reasons. And at the end of the day, like, I can just kind of honestly sit here and say, wow, it would have just been cool to be one of the guys and always just be like loose, but it honestly wasn't like that. And my response was to just be even better than I could be. And so in some way it helped fire me up, particularly going overseas and saying, like, walk around a little more confidently, I suppose. But
yeah, that's good that you've been able to like overcome anything that's been thrown your way. Now we understand that you have a connection to Laxale First Nation and you are in your second year of your PhD. Can you tell us a little bit about your research?
Yeah. And I guess, like, I alluded to it earlier, that my father's from Laxale First Nation. He grew up there. Brothers, sisters, all my aunties, uncle. It's really nice. I'm really looking forward to going back there because I haven't been in, honestly, over 10 years, which is wild. But yeah, my dad played hockey at residential school at Pelican Lake, Pelican Blackhawks. Being in second year in the kinesiology sciences program here at McGill. My anticipated dissertation is on the hockey history of the Anishinaabe of Laxale First Nation, whose intention is, it's really not up to me to say, but maybe, what kinds of meanings the young athletes formed, or maybe a sense of community they felt amongst themselves, being forced to attend residential school, right? So just, but also just for me, the opportunity to give back, to retell the story and to celebrate, like, hockey excellence back home is really desirable to me. I guess one of the projects that I'm working on is really quite exciting too, because we're intending to roll out some virtual modules, exploring human movement, working with middle-aged Indigenous students, and just encouraging, like, say, introduction to biomechanics, for instance, and sort of just showing young people, like, what's out there in terms of like the kinesiology is such a varied discipline, right? And being involved in multidisciplinary projects like I am, I'm so thankful for, because I get to learn so much, and we just go back and forth. And if we can help young people be active and take an interest in like all the directions school can take them, then all the better.
Amazing. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us and sharing about what you're doing. The work that you're doing is so important. Really glad that we were able to connect, and you were able to be a part of our launch for the Blow the Whistle on Racism. And we look forward to the work once your stuff is published, and to see and to celebrate, like you said, the hockey history. It's very similar to the work that Bob Dawson has been doing, looking at the colored hockey league out east that's been around. And I just watched hockey. I don't know if it's Hockey Night in Canada, whatever was on last night on my TV, my husband watching, and they were talking about how so many people had no idea that the colored hockey league even existed. It was the Foste brothers that had written the book, and the work you're doing, like I said, is so important. And hopefully we can connect with you some more along the way and learn from you and the amazing work you're doing.
That's excellent. Well, thanks so much, Rebecca and Kirsten, and have a great rest of your day as well. And
yes,
please reach out to me. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great work, Kirsten. And we'll see you back again for your other interview.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye, Rebecca.
Bye. All right, we've got Sadie back, and we've got Dr. Martin Hyun, joining us all the way from Germany. Very excited to have our international person coming to join us. I think I let him in. Let's just make sure I'm doing this right. Yes, he's just joining. So yeah, so Sadie is joining back, and we have Dr. Martin Hyun. Am I saying that correctly? Have I said your last name correctly?
Well, thanks so much, Rebecca. And have a great rest of your day as well.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I can hear the YouTube link in the background. You back again for your other interview.
Okay.
All right, take care. Martin, are you there? We can see you. All right, we've got back, and we've got Dr. Martin Hyun.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. I think you might need to mute the YouTube link. I can hear me talking. International person coming to join us. I think I let him in. Let's make sure I'm doing this right.
Yes, Rebecca, thank you very much for having me here tonight.
Yes, are you able to mute the YouTube link or close the YouTube link?
It's called like the car company, you know, Hyun.
Hyun. Oh, okay, like Hyundai. Oh, I can hear the YouTube link in the background. All right. Well,
Okay.
We may be.
Yes, I'm here.
I think he might be a little delayed.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Just a second. I will.
Hi. I think you might need to mute the YouTube link. I can hear me talking.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah, I will just mute. Just a second.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me here tonight. Is it better now?
Yes, they're wonderful.
Okay, great.
Yes. So welcome. I'm going to hand it over to Sadie so she can ask you some questions.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Just before she does that, Dr. Martin Hyun, he is the CEO, co-founder of Hockey is Diversity in Berlin, Germany. So over to you, Sadie.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us all the way from Germany to help launch. First off, you started Hockey's Diversity in Germany. Can you tell us a bit about why you did this?
Yes, first of all, thank you very much, Rebecca and Sadie, for having me here. It's an honor for me to be here with you guys and all these wonderful speakers today. Coming to your question, Sadie, as a hockey player, I have experienced racism myself from the youth up to the professional level, from opponents, but also my own teammates and spectators. But despite that, I've always felt that hockey is my home. And at one point, I could not stand those racial slurs anymore. Before it was like you take it in and you just try to ignore it. But at one point, I was not able to endure this anymore. And it led me to think, how can I bring change to the mindset of a game which in its origin has always been multicultural. And during that time, I have to say, I idolized players like Jimmy Peck. Jimmy Peck was the first Korean-born player playing in the NHL, and Claude Vilgrain. I admired them because they were the first. Although I did not know them personally, they gave me strength to deal with those kind of issues. But also during the time I grew up in a unified Germany, and I experienced Germany experienced an all-time high in racism. A lot of people of color got killed. They were burned to death because they just appeared foreign. And I felt the need to become active because
I did not want to let racism continue in the game by just turning the back on the game I love, and that's how I founded Hockey is Diversity together with my friend Peter Goldbach. And to your second question, how it was received, it was not received in a way that you welcome a family member to your home. The professional teams that we approached, with a few exceptions, did not see the need to work together proactively and preventively against racism. But on the other hand, it is very challenging to convince a predominantly white leadership world in hockey to see the urgency and need to fight racism, because they live in their bubble. They do not have to deal with racism that the people of color experience on a daily basis. And yeah, so it took sadly a recent racist incident in the German Hockey League that finally gave us a platform that where teams reached out to us, the league even reached out to us to receive diversity training. They have asked to work together to combat racism in our game. And all in all, Sadie, I have to say, it took us 10 years to be finally heard.
Wow. That's crazy. What is Hockey for Diversity doing now to kind of combat racism?
Well, annually we are in existence since 2010. We annually have or organize up to 13 projects. I will not go into detail about all 13 because of time. But one of our projects is our under-17 tournament. Since 2015, we organize our international under-17 Hockey is Diversity tournament. High caliber international youth teams from Sweden, Austria, Czech Republic, Latvia, Switzerland, and Germany participated in the past. And we always take the opportunity to educate those young players on racism, the need for them to join us as allies, and also tell them and explain them that they are global ambassadors to our game. And as I mentioned before, we have just announced our partnership with the German Hockey League. We have just started with our diversity training with DEL teams and also the DEL leadership. We have upcoming training now with the referees and linesmen and also with other teams. We plan also to bring players of color in Europe together so that they can exchange experiences and know that they are not alone. So this is, in short, what we are doing now.
Wonderful. That is, I mean, it is crazy that it took 10 years to get to where you are, but the amount of work that you're doing now, it's almost like you're doing 10 years worth of work in one year.
Yes,
or
absolutely.
I mean, yeah, more than that. I've been following along on Twitter, and I saw there was a picture of a group of people, you know, doing the diversity training and then connecting with the German Professional League and seeing the stuff that they're doing. It's so inspirational, and it's so right, and it's showing these young people that, you know, if you persevere, you know, you can make a huge difference. I know in talking to Bob Dawson, right from the beginning, he mentioned you, Martin, and the work that you were doing. And anything that we've done, I don't know if you've seen any of our videos yet, but he wears your jersey very proudly.
Yes, yes, I saw it, yeah.
Yes, and I think there was talk, I remember him saying of some type of, he was hoping to go over to Germany to play in a tournament or something, and obviously right now with COVID, that's not happening, but maybe we can keep connected and say maybe some of these youth can come, and that would be pretty cool to participate in something.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. We would love to go overseas as well, because we are good friends with the band Anti-Flag from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Which we work together as well in promoting our message. And we are also trying to plan something overseas. That would be a
What?
good time to connect.
Yes.
Maybe.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Sadie, and
Thank you so much.
Martin, for joining us today. We've got quite a few more people to see, and we're hoping to stay in touch.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you, Sadie.
Thank you, Martin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful. All right. Up next, we have Ava Peters joining us, and Jean-Marie from Black History Ottawa. I see two different accounts here, so maybe we've got Black History Ottawa joining us. Jean-Marie, is that you there?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. So nice to meet you. We've talked on the phone, but I haven't got to see you in person.
How are you doing?
Good. Wonderful. Thank you
Good.
so much for joining us.
Well, I've been watching. Very great event. Congratulations.
Oh, good. Good. Wonderful. So we have Ava joining us. So Ava is the only non-hockey player to join us.
Okay.
However, Ava has joined R.I.S.E Academy this quadmester and has been participating a lot with her Black youth community at St. Joseph's High School, and has been inspired by the work that they're doing and really wants to make a difference as well. So we asked her, this might be a good opportunity to get involved and do some learning and some interviewing before she jumps into her project.
All right.
So Ava, I'm going to pass it over to you. So actually, before I do that, Jean-Marie is from Black History Ottawa, which is one of our organizations that our challenge is suggesting that if you take part in our challenge, that you learn more about this organization, as well if you feel so inclined to donate to the amazing work that they're doing. We are going to showcase our website at the end, and I do have Abby here on Twitter and on YouTube. She will be updating with links to your brand new website, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
So I'll pass it over to Ava to ask some questions.
All right.
All right. Well, Jean-Marie, thank you so much for joining us today. So my first question for you is, can you tell us about Black History Ottawa and how it has showcased hockey?
Oh, sure. Black History Ottawa is a charitable organization. We started here in 1986, and one of the main activities that we do is that we organize the launch for Black History Month. And then we also promote other activities that are done throughout Black History Month by other organizations. We've also started doing more year-round activities. So you see that we'll mark special days like Emancipation Day, and we do events for Remembrance Day. And we'll do activities and workshops that contribute to the development of the Black community. How we showcased our hockey, because our part of our mandate is to educate Canadians in general about contributions of Black Canadians to our Canadian history. We talk about contributions that are made, whether it's in science, in the medicine, arts, entertainment, sports, and of course, hockey. So I don't know if you can see behind me here, we have a banner, and on the banner is a picture of Willie O'Ree, which by now I'm sure everybody knows watching this event who he is. And we've also in the past organized, we partnered with an organization, and we had brought George and Dow Fusty to Ottawa, and they're the writer of this book here, Black Ice, that talks about the College Hockey League. And 2017, we worked with Bob Dawson, whom you had on earlier, and for Canada 150, the events that we did to mark the 150th anniversary was we showcased the College Hockey League here in the National Capital Region. So we organized a commemorative hockey game. We had players, mostly Black players, that played in that game. Then we also educated people about the College Hockey League. And then last year, 2020, which was the 125th anniversary of that league, we organized another great event. Bob also was part of the architect that helped get that done, Bob Dawson. So this time we partnered with the National Hockey League and the Ottawa Senators. Willie O'Ree was here in Ottawa. We brought the National Hockey League. They have a mobile hockey history, a mobile museum. So we got that. We had that here in Ottawa. Again, we organized another commemorative hockey game. In the back, you see jerseys that we use. They sort of represent teams that would have played in the College Hockey League of the Maritimes. And then we had our first Black Hockey History Night with the Sens. So there was a game between the Sens and the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. So we had the national anthem was sang by a local Black singer, Kelly Lee Evans. And when they sing the anthem, there's cadets or that usually hold the flag. So we had 2 young Black cadets, and we had the official ceremonial puck drop done, which were with Willie O'Ree. We had descendants of players that played in the College Hockey League, and we had 2 young kids that are part of hockey programs. They were all part of that, and we had sold tickets, and we had a lot of people in the Black community that also attended the game. So it was fun, and that's something we had hoped to do again this year, but due to COVID, we weren't able to do it.
Okay, well, thank you. And so my next question is, it is Black History Month right now. So are you holding any events as well related to hockey?
This year, no. On our Instagram page, we did post some pictures of last year's event, just to remind people of what we did. We had hoped, like as I mentioned before, to have another Black Hockey History Night with the Sens. But because we also do a lot of activities outside of Black History Month, we're hoping to have our commemorative hockey game later in the fall when hopefully things come back to normal.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes.
And why do you think it is important to learn and celebrate Black History Month?
Well, I would say representation matters, right? When we look at on the ice, we don't see too many Black players. And I know of myself growing up, it was always, the perception was always that it's not a really game for Black people, right? So learning about the history, knowing that there were Black players, we had the College Hockey League. It's also important to, I think, educate the fans, the parents, because there are some young Black kids that participate in hockey, and when they're the only ones and they hear racist comments, right, it doesn't encourage them to continue in the game. So it's important to let them know that this is a game for all Canadians, and we have been contributing. We see all the great things that Black Canadians do in everything, including, like, say, when you look at track and field. So we can do the same things as well in hockey. So we just have to have the opportunity and get the kids out there on the ice and play.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Abby is posting where people can find you and donate. We thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. And we look forward to more connections in the future.
Well, thank you very much for doing this, Rebecca and the whole R.I.S.E team.
Thank you. Thank you, Ava. Great work.
No problem. Thank you.
Take care. You did a good job.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Kirsten coming back to join us. And we have Ashley. And I want to make sure I'm going to say that her last, Mouzzon, yes. Mouzzon. Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm just removing somebody from here. Oh, sorry. I apologize. I put the wrong picture of Ashley out on social media. Thank you so much for letting me know that.
Yeah, of course.
And Ashley works for Women's Hockey Life. And I actually had the opportunity to meet Jacqueline last year. My daughter plays hockey with her nephew, and my daughter plays on a boys team. And the coaches were really, really great in that they saw the need to see female representation, and brought Jacqueline out to run a couple of the practices, which was fantastic. And that's where I learned more about Women's Hockey Life. So you're the communications coordinator at Women's Hockey Life. I'm going to pass it over to Kirsten to ask you some questions.
Ashley, thank you so much for joining us to launch the Blow the Whistle on Racism Challenge. I first wanted to thank you for your service in the military, and I have some questions for you.
Perfect, thank you.
You are the communications coordinator at Women's Hockey Life. Can you tell us about WHL and what you do there?
Yeah, of course. So we are a brand that empowers women and young girls through the sport of hockey. We typically like to highlight players of all levels, from the youth level to college and even the adult level as well, through their personal stories, and as well as professionals through feature articles and interviews. And we also like to provide training tips and articles on mental health. Also, on the other side of it, we like to, we have a program through WHL Academy where we help high school age female athletes navigate the recruiting process. So it's an 8-week online course that helps athletes take their hockey career to the next level. And my job, I do a little bit of everything. So I assist with social media management, social graphics, as well as content creation, email marketing, and any articles that are submitted to us from our guest writers. I review those and I edit those as well. So that's pretty much it.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
After reading your ambassador spotlight on the Women's Hockey Life website, I understand that you only played hockey for a short time when you were young and you picked it up later in your 20s. What made you want to get involved with Women's Hockey Life?
So it's funny, actually, last year I had a teammate when I played in New Jersey in an adult women's league. She was featured in an article on the website, so she shared it with all of us. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's this website? I've never heard of it. And once I discovered it, I really just fell in love with the brand and everything that they stood for. So I saw that they accepted guest writers. So me being a writer at my core, I wanted to be a part of the amazing community of women hockey players. So once I started freelance writing, I jumped on any opportunity I could to write content. So when the PWHPA had a few upcoming Dream Gap tour stops, I provided coverage for 3 of their games, and one I was able to attend in person and interview a few PWHPA players. And then after that, over the summer, once I received my master's in communications, I was hired as an intern before becoming an official member of the team. And it's been fun so far.
That sounds like fun. Now we understand that you are in charge of the WHL's Ending Racism at the Rink campaign. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so the Diversity at the Rink initiative was actually started just in response to an accumulation of what had been occurring in all sports. So I knew hockey was not the most diverse sport, but various events really opened up my eyes to see how much work really needed to be done. So I wanted to help in any way that I could with the WHL platform. Since it's a global one, I decided to create this initiative to serve as a resource for our audience, and also to highlight those who are really working hard to ensure hockey is a sport for everyone. So through the initiative, we were able to share the stories of Soraya Tinker with the NWHL Metropolitan Riveters, Sydney Kinder with the HPOC movement, Janelle Forcan with the True North Youth Foundation, and Chanel Keenan with the Seattle Kraken. And we even committed as an organization to the Black Girl Hockey Club's Get Uncomfortable campaign. And we also encouraged our audience to do the same. Also, we share articles, events, videos, and podcasts. So anything that Black Girl Hockey Club does, we share their events, the Soul on Ice podcast, and even Erica Ayala's YouTube series to keep our audience as up to date as possible. So ultimately, the goal is just to keep everybody informed on what these incredible organizations and various people are doing in the hockey world.
That's a lot that you guys do. It's incredible. If
Thank
people
you.
wanted to know more about the WHL, where can they find you and that information?
Yeah, of course. So they can find us on womenshockeylife.com, and then all of our social platforms are linked on there as well. So our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are all linked on there.
Great. What else is important for people to know that like we haven't already touched on?
Just that we are just a very unique brand that aims to highlight everybody. So we're not just covering professionals. We're not just covering people that have played college or anything. So we cover, I know we did a thing where we covered hockey moms. So moms that are in their 30s, 40s that want to join hockey and they see how much fun it is, they get on this platform and they're instantly connected to our community. And through our Facebook group, it's also another community on there where people can say, hey, how can I wear my ponytail if I can't? How do I wear that in my helmet? And so many people will comment on there and be like, hey, this is what you do, or this is what my daughter does. So it's just an amazing community of women.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. You mentioned that this is like a worldwide, a global thing. So where do you, like, I'm in Ottawa where Jacqueline is. And so I kind of thought, oh, this is an Ottawa based thing. So where's the reach? Where, like, how does that work?
reach? So we have, I don't even know how far we have expanded, but I know we just had somebody that we just accepted as a brand ambassador that's from Italy. We have a few people I know that have touched on us from Scotland before. Okay. And I'm pretty sure there are other places that I'm missing, but I know I've seen Germany in there. I think I even saw Poland at one point. So we have a pretty global reach. And I can't remember, we had a post a while back on our social media about where everybody was from. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we touched on about 30 different countries. So it was a lot.
Wow. Amazing. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. And again, every guest we meet, there's so much more we can learn, and hopefully we can stay connected, and hope to see you taking the Blow the Whistle on Racism challenge.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful. Take care. Great job, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ashley.
for coming in.
Thank you, Kirsten.
All right, well, up next, we're looking to have Ron McLean join us. I don't see him in our waiting room yet. However, we do have Gracie Saka joining us. Uh-oh, she can't get her sound working. Okay, we often have this problem with Gracie and technology, and that's the reality of running a virtual school. Just a little bit about Gracie before we get to chatting with her. So Gracie's been with us at R.I.S.E since September, and you can hear us now?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're waiting for Ron McLean to join us, and you just played a game. How did it go?
Pretty well. We won 4-2. So.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. Yeah. So who do you play for, Gracie?
I play for the Nepean Junior Wildcats, and today we played against the Lake Sens.
Right, and that's the only team you've played this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the only other team in Ottawa that we could play against. So.
Yeah. So you've been with us since September. You've taken, what courses have you taken?
I took the family life course,
Canadian families. And world cultures.
And world cultures. And now I'm taking challenge and change.
Yes, challenge and change in society. Yeah. And you weren't originally a part of this project. You kind of jumped in, but you still were working on looking at racism in hockey.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you did to begin with. What was your first project that you did?
So my first big major project was doing a podcast with Soraya Tinker, Erica Ayala, and the Black Girls Hockey Club founder Renee Hess. And yeah, that was my first real big thing. We just had a conversation about what I'm doing and what they've been doing and what we're gonna do going forward.
Okay, what are some of the things that they're doing?
Well, Soraya has been doing a lot. All of them have blown up recently because of what they've been doing. At the start, they were just trying to kind of basically do what I'm doing, is getting the word out. But they've, Soraya's playing in the NWHL right now, and she's promoting it there. She's went on Sportsnet, I'm pretty sure. She talked about what she's doing there and a lot more.
Yeah. And what's the Get Uncomfortable challenge?
The Get Uncomfortable challenge is what the Black Girls Hockey Club is doing right now. It's just, again, trying to get the word out, and as much as people, the Get Uncomfortable challenge is just like basically what it is, getting people uncomfortable, talking about racism in hockey, and spreading the word.
And why did you want to do something about this?
Because I'm close to hockey. It was like right from the start, I knew I wanted to do racism in hockey because I wouldn't be as passionate about anything else. I also want to do this because in that first conversation with Soroya, she was telling me about how her own teammates were bullying her because of the color of her skin. And I just, like, that made me like aggravated and annoyed, and it made me want to do this even more.
Right. So at the beginning of the course, or sorry, not the course, the beginning of today's broadcast, we talked a little bit about R.I.S.E Academy, and you have, like I said, you've been here since September. A lot of people don't understand how R.I.S.E Academy works. You still attend your regular high school, correct?
Yeah.
And how have you fit in courses from R.I.S.E?
Well, I go to St. Mark's, and we have just started going back to school. So I take one course either in the morning or the afternoon. And
okay, we're going to cut you off there. We've got Ron here.
Sorry.
All good.
You're a busy man.
Oh, terrible. I've had a tech nightmare over here today, but all's well that ends well. Great to see you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Ron McLean, for joining our Blow the Whistle on Racism campaign. We are honored that you would take the time to have this discussion with us. And Bob Dawson speaks so highly of you, and we all, as Canadians, have you in our hearts, and look forward to listening to you every Saturday night and all over the place. Gracie Saka here is a hockey player as well, and I'm going to pass it over to her to ask you some questions.
Hi. Thank you again so much for coming on. So I'm just going to get to our first question. Well, for those who are living under a rock, can you tell us a bit about your connection to the hockey community?
Well, Hockey Night in Canada is the blessing in my life, Gracie. I was a young boy growing up, first in Whitehorse, Yukon. My father was stationed there in the Air Force, fell in love with the sport there. My dream was to be on the wing with Wayne Gretzky as my center, but that just didn't pan out. And I just fell into broadcasting, and I started as a broadcaster in 1984 at Calgary, and then in 86 moved to Hockey Night in Canada. And then that has morphed into a second show called Rogers Hometown Hockey, which is a really beautiful, instead of making it a secondhand experience, we make that NHL visit a firsthand, not during the pandemic, obviously. But I think the ethos of that show that was created for Sunday evenings is very much along the lines of what this conversation is about. And that is to sort of ask hard questions, have good, deep conversations about social justice issues, about the state of the game. So that's what I do. And I'm sure, as you say, Gracie, you're kind of forced to know that because I've been around so long.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Over the years, you've become a legendary spokesperson for the hockey community. You have refereed in the NHL, sat beside Don Cherry, and discussed hockey for 30 years, and continue to work for CBC and Rogers as a sportscaster. How are you using your platform to help combat racism in hockey?
Well, I give Bob Dawson, Courtney Cito, everybody involved in the project that was held at Queen's University great marks. I think for me, it probably took George Floyd to really allow me to understand the scope of my own ignorance. I always had this innate feeling that we as humans are all the same. I didn't even appreciate that women, leave the house maybe checking both ways before they walk out to the car. I just was so naive in my, I grew up picking out my favorite hockey card and my favorite pair of jeans and just seemed to be oblivious to my privilege. And it took listening, as we've often said, Matt Galloway is a host of CBC's The Current on Radio 1. He said he's got a little paper slip on his microphone that says "Stop talking." And it took George Floyd, really did, to give us all that moment to listen. And ever since then, I don't say that I use my platform, but I honestly feel like I have that opportunity, to help guide conversations. Bob certainly was one of them. The day that George Floyd was murdered, I was interviewing Chaos and John Sally, a four-time NBA champion. And I ended the interview saying how, this was the long Memorial Day long weekend in the United States. This is a great day, for the American dream. Unbeknownst to me, what was happening in Minneapolis was happening. And I never, got over the revelations that came out of that particular moment in time. And now I just look forward to being actively involved in conversations such as this one, and doing my little part.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like everything that happened with George Floyd, that definitely made me more passionate about the project I'm doing with R.I.S.E Academy. Okay, so you had an opportunity to interview our mentor, Bob Dawson. What was your biggest takeaway?
Well, he's a teacher. His life's work has been this issue. So I think that's another revelation that's come out of this, is there's a lot of people who've been doing this work endlessly and tirelessly and thanklessly for so long. And Bob is one of those. Not only is he a great hockey player, I had the opportunity to referee him the last year in Ottawa, and his little moves out of the corner and the way he sees the ice, great hockey player. But I'll show you, the best way to show you, Gracie, is this is my file on Harner Ryan Sink. So and it's quite thin. This is my file on Billie Jean King. So this would probably be a file on women's rights. As I prepare for International Women's Day, I usually use the Billie Jean. This is my Downey Wenjack, our Indigenous story that should not be lost in our country. I don't have to tell you. Here's a Herb Carnegie initiative, and the file is fairly thin. Here's the NHL fan inclusion, which is all about this subject, fairly thin. And here's my Bob Dawson file. There you can see Bob Dawson's name there. Look at the file. So this guy has absolutely, filled me with so many things. There's a photo of me as the referee with the game that Bob organized last year. And I think about what he's taught me about James Baldwin, Frederick Douglass, who's the original abolitionist and women's right advocate. I'm reading his book now, Prophet of Freedom. And, he's been a conduit to, Martin Luther King, the stories he can tell about almost having been in the church with Martin Luther King, down in Atlanta. So yeah, he's just a wealth of kindness, of information. And he does it in a way that's not heavy-handed. He's been a good guide to kind of have that in the back of my head, is how to approach this without putting up walls. He's really good at that.
Awesome. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Bob has nominated you to take the challenge that we created, the Blow the Whistle challenge on racism. Who are you going to nominate?
Yeah, well, I was going to nominate my colleague on Rogers Hometown Hockey, Tara Sloan. I think, as I said, that show, the Sunday evening telecast, our entire mandate is to be about inclusion. So Tara would be really happy to have that challenge, and that's who I would submit.
Fantastic. What else is important for people to know that we might not have touched on?
Well, I think, again, the biggest thing for me, Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote a book, Between the World and Me. Reading, again, kind of going quiet, as you know, in silence or stillness is when you do a lot of your best exploration. I think it's really great to know about Brian Stevenson's Just Mercy. He's a lawmaker in the United States, kind of connected to Rosa Parks. I think, this Ta-Nehisi Coates book, Between the World and Me, is about a man trying to teach his son what it's going to be like, the world in front of him. And then he finds, his own successes put him in the middle of all the crap that he was worried about. Now he's kind of coexisting within these difficult discussions. I love that. I think that, right now is a great time. Frederick Douglass started a newspaper in Rochester, the North Star. Go and see, Hip Hop Evolution by Shad. I come back to this naivete, but it's hard for me as a 60-year-old to imagine that I'm not up on hip hop. That would be like growing up as I did in the 1960s and being unaware of a British invasion. It's so bad. And thank God, a few friends of, including Shad and Chaos, have opened my whole world by finally forcing me to get off my classic 70s channel and put on some good new music. Yeah, so that's, and then the big thing that Ta-Nehisi Coates talked about was we start to march as armies in different directions. And I feel right now, in my age, I see that need to bridge differences within the community that's leading the charge. So that the Hockey Diversity Alliance and the Black Girl Hockey Club and Dr. Courtney Cito and Bob, all of us start to listen to each other, allow for the differences, because there are some, differences, much like there was with Malcolm X and MLK. That's a big thing right now is to, we went through that sort of righteous indignation and anger, and now we're in this great opportunity. So let's work together. But you know that. I'm not telling anyone in this group what you don't know.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
thank you.
much, Ron. We are honored that you would take the time, and we look forward to you joining our challenge and hoping to get lots of people around the world joining us as well.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
See you on the trail. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Up next, we still have Gracie joining us. She's going to be leading our next interview. And we are very excited. Oh, Ron just doesn't want to go. Oh, he's back. And we're very excited to have Tammi Lynch joining us and to talk about Players Against Hate. So she is the co-founder of Players Against Hate, and I'm going to pass it over to Gracie.
Hi, I'm Gracie. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to go to the first question. Can you tell us a bit about Players Against Hate and how it started and its mission?
Hi, Gracie. Thanks so much for having me. Sure. Players Against Hate started as a result of some racial taunting that happened at my son's hockey game just over 2 years ago. He was friends with a kid on his team, and at a tournament, the kid was taunted racially and throughout the game. And then a big fight broke out at the end of the game, not related to the taunting, but my son's friend, Divine Pollen, was suspended from the game. And we found out after the game that he was kind of fighting back because he had been taunted all of the game and he just kind of had enough. And when I heard the story from his dad, I got so upset that other kids would have been doing this to him. And so I made this little sticker that said racism with a slash through it and a hockey stick. And all the parents wore them at the game that night to show our support for Divine. And Divine's dad was, I guess, kind of shocked that we were all kind of taking a stand for him. And he posted a picture on Facebook of the little sticker, and that's what started Players Against Hate. We knew kind of that we had touched a nerve, and so much had started to happen because of that. We felt like that we just had to keep it going and not leave it just limited to this little sticker. So that was kind of the seed that sparked our movement, and we've grown since there to an international platform. We are working on developing a curriculum, an anti-hate curriculum for hockey players. And also we are developing, actually just launched an incident tracker, because one of the things that was surprising to me when this happened to Divine was that nobody knew how much racism is happening in the sport. So we developed a tracker that's online that people can make an anonymous report. And we're the first organization that has started to capture this data to really prove to the hockey community that how much this is going on. So it's been a surreal experience, to say the least.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. Players Against Hate was nominated for the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award. What was it like being recognized on such a big stage, and how has that helped your organization grow and take further steps to combat racism in hockey?
So being nominated for that award, a dear friend of mine that I met through Players Against Hate was the one who nominated me, Vanessa. And it has been such an experience that I keep telling my kids, or I did when this was going on, that nobody really lives like this. It put us out in a stage. There were the news crews following us around, Divine's family too. It really let us amplify our message and get it out to more than just the local hockey community where we are. And to be there at the NHL awards ceremony it's like going to the Emmys or some sort of, big fancy show. Like all the hockey celebrities are there and they're walking across the stage, and it's just, and you're sitting there and your eyes are real big, like, oh my gosh, I know who that is. And it really just helped to amplify the message and to open some doors to keep moving our platform forward.
Awesome. We understand you and your son's team got to meet the Washington Capitals. What was that experience like, and what does it mean to you to have some of the world's best hockey players support your initiative?
It's amazing to have them support our initiative, and to see that they're still supporting us is even more amazing. But when this happened, I mean, these were 13 and 14-year-old boys and a few girls. And when they got invited, it was either after or before practice one night, and the Caps sent a video to the team. And so all the kids were watching the screen and had no idea what was happening. And up pops all these famous players from the Caps that say, hey, Metro Maple Leafs, we want to invite you to this hockey game. And the kids' eyes got big and they were all cheering. So to see the kids have that kind of experience, it was good for them. It was something they will remember for a lifetime. And Divine especially had the opportunity to talk with some of the players privately, and really have some words of encouragement for him. So it was a night that they'll never forget.
Wonderful. If people wanted to get those stickers and find out more about Players Against Hate, where can they get those? And where can they?
Our stickers, we would love for teams everywhere to be wearing those little stickers on their helmets. Playersagainsthate.org is our website. And there's a link on there to just fill out a Google form, and we will send them out. And then we're also just all over social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is how you can find us. And we just want to keep growing the movement and really making a change so no kid ever has to experience racism in the game.
Wonderful. Well, we will definitely be ordering some of those stickers for our Nepean Ottawa players here, and we'll spread the word. Thank you, Tammi, so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. And I have to just tell you, I'm at my daughter's game, so I'm really the hockey mom. I came and ran out to the car to talk,
that's
and I'm
awesome.
going to go watch the end of her game. So thanks so much for including me in this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Up next, we have Sydney Kinder joining us from the Black Girl Hockey Club. But also, but you're also a part of the HPOC, correct? Hockey Player of Color movement. Did I get that? Look at where are you? Are you somewhere hot?
Yeah, we're currently on the road and we're playing in Jacksonville, Florida right now at University of North Florida.
Lucky.
Wow. Awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time and showing us your beautiful weather as we look out the window at like 6 feet of snow.
Sorry. Don't mean to rub it in, but it is nice today.
Look at how beautiful it is. Like it's like a blue sky and beach court.
Yeah,
crazy.
Sand volleyball court. Yeah, the girls are definitely soaking it in.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Gracie to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Hi, my name is Gracie. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you tell us a bit about the Black Girl Hockey Club and your role there?
Yeah, so with Black Girls Hockey Club, I serve as a volunteer on their scholarship committee. So through the donations and the fundraising that they do, they then award scholarships to Black female hockey players. And that scholarship is, they apply for it and then it gets allocated or dispersed in different amounts. And also with that scholarship, those girls get mentors as well. So as we said, or in my introduction before, I'm also director of HBOC, which is a mentorship program. So it kind of works hand in hand to award these scholarships to then also give these girls a mentor or someone that they can lean on as they matriculate through their hockey careers.
Awesome. Can you tell us a bit about the Get Uncomfortable Challenge?
Yeah, so it's a pledge to kind of disrupt and end racism throughout. So it works on 3 pillars of educate, implore, and oh my God, I'm having a brain fart.
Empower?
So empower, yes. And sorry, I'm having a brain fart. I've been dealing with the girls all day, so I haven't thought too much. But we work to end racism, and that's by promoting diversity, promoting inclusion. And it's not an easy conversation to have. It's very hard, hence why it's Get Uncomfortable. But it's you taking a pledge to have these conversations, you taking a pledge to open up these spaces and make them more inclusive, make them more diverse, and it's not an easy task. So we want you to ask us hey, am I doing these things right? What can I do to fix this? Or what are ways to better this program? And by taking that pledge or opening up your organization to, I don't want to say scrutiny, but to the help that's required and the magnifying glass needed to make these spaces a lot more safer, make these spaces a lot more comfortable, and at the end of the day, make these spaces a lot more open to everyone who wants to participate in hockey.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. The Black Girls Hockey Club has recently been all over the news and connecting with the NHL and other organizations all over North America. Can you tell us about who you connected with and what they're doing to support you?
So I guess the perk of COVID is we're reaching more out into the community. And because we don't have, as much as we'd love to, we don't have these face-to-face meet and greets where we can have these events, we could go to games, we could talk to each other, but we are really setting on this kind of telecommunication network where we're leaning on people to talk virtually and have these campaigns and Zoom meetings virtually. So we're able to get in contact with various players, people throughout the league that want to open up their spaces and want to do better. And I think what's unfortunate about the climate of 2020, especially the racial climate of 2020, it's really opened up everyone's eyes to how ugly racism is, or opened their eyes up more, and how much it's still here and how much we need to change it. So having to Get Uncomfortable pledge, having these people that want to have these conversations and open up and talk to us about it, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the league, has just expanded Black Girls Hockey Club even more.
Yeah. The Blow the Whistle on Racism campaign would like to shine a light on the Black Girls Hockey Club. If people would like to donate, where can they do that?
Right on the website. There are multiple increments, multiple ways that you can donate directly to Black Girls Hockey Club. And what's great about Black Girls Hockey Club is that money goes directly back into the community, back to the girls that are playing hockey, which is phenomenal to see, because I think that is definitely a demographic that lacks a lot currently in hockey, is that BIPOC female aspect, and Black Girls Hockey Club is definitely aiming to grow that and retain that as these girls keep going through hockey.
Amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.
So you deal with the scholarships, and I just saw we've been watching. Gracie had the opportunity to interview Renee Hess back in October when she was doing amazing work, but things have just picked up, right? And she's been all over the place. the scholarship. You must be busy now, because I feel like people are hearing and are donating. Have things picked up? Like Soroya just, did her big birthday thing where she raised $30,000. Are you busier now?
Yeah, I think the momentum is building, and the momentum is palpable right now. I think 5 years ago, you definitely didn't. I don't even think Black Girls Hockey Club is so young. I think it's 4 or 5 years old too. So this wasn't even around back then. But 4 or 5 years ago, you're in these spaces that don't want to have these conversations, that are refusing to have, that won't acknowledge that these issues exist now. And with the racial climate that we're in now, it's a palpable change. It's like we cannot stay tried and true in these old ways, because hockey won't stay around for the next 10 years if this is what's going to look like, and the change needs to happen now. So with everyone kind of shining a light on diversity inclusion needed to happen, with everyone more using their platforms to shine a light to Black Girls Hockey Club and movements of the such, you can feel the change coming. We're on the precipice of something big, and you feel that momentum building. And when it reaches a climax, it's going to be so exciting to see how much change all of this is going to do. So I would definitely say we're busy.
Yeah,
for sure. And you want to harness that change. You want to be on top of it, and you want to make sure that change is inclusive to every demographic that needs it.
And I just saw last night or this morning, I saw a tweet where Renee was on a Zoom call with a girl in Nigeria.
Yes, Hyun. She's actually going to be one of my mentees, and she plays for Nigerian ice hockey. So that's really cool.
Yes.
So it's not only a national North American thing, but it's definitely global, which is so awesome to see, because ice hockey is definitely not secular to the North American, European countries. It has such a broad reach. So it's very exciting to see that. It was definitely an early wake-up call with the time zone differences. But it was really cool to talk to Hyun and just see how ice hockey's changed her life and her pursuits to continue it more.
Crazy. Okay, last question. So when we were doing our research, I saw that you played for SUNY Canton.
Yes.
So my question for you, so my best friend's brother played for Potsdam.
Oh, okay.
And I want to know if your favorite pizza is we used to call it Sergi's.
Yeah.
Best pizza ever.
Sergi's has my heart. Being at Canton, that was the only spot and the spot to get pizza. And, the Sergi's family is so rooted in the community. Who doesn't love shopping locally, And they were always a supporter of the game. A couple of their kids played, and I have had the privilege to play with soccer. So it was definitely fun. Sergi's is top tier pizza.
Yeah. We used to, we're in Ottawa, so it's about a 45-hour drive. And so we would pick one up on the way in and one on the way out to bring home.
Always have to have a pie.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. And we're happy to support you in getting some vitamin D.
Working on the tan. Am I glowing yet?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Sydney.
Yes, of course. You guys have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
All right. And our last guest, I can't believe I've been sitting here through this whole thing. So it's almost been 2.5 hours and it's gone by like this. It's been unbelievable.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's been great though. The people are just so engaging. Anyways, we have Erica Ayala, who you've already had the opportunity to chat with. And I'm super excited to have her back. Erica, welcome.
What's up?
We're so excited to have you back. Oh, look at your hat, your Seattle Kraken.
It just came in. Came in. So I've got all of the info on the Black Girl Hockey Club scholarship that you were just talking about with Sydney. I heard Gracie talking about Get Uncomfortable earlier. I went live. I was bringing people in, letting them know that they should come and join the live feed here.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to be able to reach out and have more conversations with you. Gracie had the opportunity to chat with you a few months ago. And I know for me, and I'm kind of along the lines of what Ron McLean was saying, this has been such an education for me, and I thank you for giving me your time and your insight on this. And it's really hit home that if we're not doing something about it, then we are part of the problem. And so we've really taken that to heart. And between, Gracie having the conversation with you and the Blow the Whistle on Racism campaign that we're launching today. And I know Bob Dawson has a special place in his heart for you. So he's very excited that you've joined us. So
likewise. Speaking of Seattle, just spoke to him for a piece that I wrote for the Kraken on the Colored Hockey League, which you mentioned earlier.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to pass it over to Gracie to ask you some questions.
All right.
First of all, the microphone is sick.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for joining us today. So you're a reporter, but not just any kind of reporter. You focus on women's sport and social justice. Can you tell us about how you got into that and some of the cool stories that you've covered?
Sure. Well, how I got into it is just knowing what it's like to be a Black person in a sport that is seen as predominantly white. I was very drawn to talking to Black athletes and athletes of color about their experiences in hockey. And over time, that led to being able to write about microaggressions or write about the missed opportunities for communities of color to be a part of hockey. And as has been mentioned by a few other people today, when George Floyd was murdered and North America and truly the world came to this reckoning on how we were going to collectively move forward, there were more opportunities than there had ever been before to talk to not just Black athletes and athletes of color, but also some white athletes as well. And so that's actually how I got started with my YouTube page in talking to athletes more about this.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I had the opportunity to interview you, Soroya, and Renee Hess back in October to discuss racism in hockey. Can you tell us why this is such an important topic for you and what you've been doing to combat it?
Well, I think it's important because we hear the stories of Willie O'Ree, especially in a month like Black History Month, and we are told all of the stories of ways that Willie or Blake Bolden, Soroya Tinker, Sarah Nurse have overcome. And those are extremely important stories. But what's also important is to understand that they weren't overcoming challenges that were based solely on where they came from. I know Angela James talks a lot about that, her upbringing and where she's from in Canada. These were challenges that they overcame because that they were forced to overcome, and in some ways are probably still having to overcome because of systemic racism. And I think that's extremely important to understand and to see how that still impacts how we as a collective view certain communities, certain sports, certain athletes, certain people. And we have to break that down in order to eradicate and eliminate racism.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. If people would like to follow your stories, where can they find you?
For sure. Well, I mentioned briefly that I have a YouTube page that's Sports Talk with Erica Lindsay Ayala. That's me. And so I have a series, Social Justice in Women's Sports in particular, but also you can follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active at elindsay08, ELINDSAY08. And as I mentioned, one of my latest stories, I got to interview the amazing Bob Dawson, and we talked about the Colored Hockey League. I loved hearing about the history as it relates also to New York, which is where I'm from, and that the Fosse brothers were trying to learn a little bit more about the Underground Railroad, which then led them to finding out about Black hockey history that has its link to New York and Canada, Nova Scotia in particular. So that's where you can find me. That's one of the latest stories that I've written. And yeah, always happy to chat with you, Gracie.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
What else is important? What else do you feel is important for people to know that we might have not have touched on today?
Sure. Well, I think this conversation is extremely important. I think it's important for us to be able to have a dialogue and a conversation. And I love coming on with Rise Academy because this is often facilitated by young people. And it's one thing for Bob or Willie or Blake or Soroya or Angela to say things, but Gracie, when you are able to break things down from your point of view and are reminding us why this conversation is still important, I think there's extreme power in that. So I'm just thankful again to be a part of this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on very much.
For sure.
Yes, I think I forgot to mention in the beginning. So Erica is a New York City freelancer. We could hear, you know what, we could hear some sirens in the background.
I know.
Yeah.
The authentic New York experience. I was talking about pizza earlier, but it's really the sirens. That's the authentic New York experience.
Yes. Yeah. And I love the fact, and again, Gracie, because of Gracie's project, I was introduced to the Black Girl Hockey Club, to you and the work that you're doing. And I'm following all the time. And I love watching all the different interviews that you're doing. And it really has so much purpose behind it. And for the BIPOC community, but for women, as well, like two communities that really, really need a voice. Just a quick thing, just to end off, is in the work that you're doing with race and sport, is hockey by far, I don't want to say the worst, but the least diverse?
That's an interesting question, and I appreciate the question. And I don't know. One, I think because as I'm learning more about hockey, I know that getting data on communities that are engaged in hockey it seems to be still relatively new. So there's that aspect where it's a little bit hard to know and have that data to back up what a lot of us are talking about from maybe more of an anecdotal perspective, which is why the work that Mr. Dawson and Dr. Cito are doing is so important. And I know USA Hockey is beginning to do a little bit more of that work. I can't speak for Hockey Canada, but so that's one thing. But I will share that I am a huge baseball fan. So also the Colored Hockey League and the history of baseball is fascinating to me. But I also played baseball and softball in college. And a part of the reason that I can resonate, I think, with some of the conversation in hockey is because of what I experience in those spaces as a player and as a fan. So again, it's hard for me to say that hockey is any better or worse off. I don't think I could say it's better, but I don't know if it's any worse off because that's all relative in a lot of different ways. But I think that's all the more reason we need to continue having these conversations, back it up with data and research that we're seeing, and continue to support those that are saying still that even in 2021 that they're not fully supported in the sport.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll leave you on here. Bob's going to come on. I'm sure he'd like to say hello.
Excellent.
So we're just, our last guest, like I said, I've been on for over two hours and it's been great. Oh, and there's Bob. Look, he's got his jersey on. So hopefully,
hey, Bob, how are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I read your article. Fantastic.
Well, thank you. It was a great conversation. I'm only sad we couldn't have everyone listen into all the amazing things that you said, but I'm sure you'll say some of them here. But thank you so much for doing that and for connecting me again with Rise for today.
Oh,
wonderful.
My pleasure. My pleasure. And hopefully we will continue the dialogue.
Yes, indeed.
Where can we find that article? Is that published or is it coming?
Yes, it is published. It's on the Seattle Kraken website. So again, I'm so excited. I got this hat in just today, had to wear it, but that's up. It's my latest piece for Seattle Kraken in honor of Black History Month and celebrating Black hockey history.
All right, we will have that up either on Twitter. I have my assistant behind me here. She's going to look for that and put it up on Twitter and the YouTube. So thank you again, Erica, and we'll be continuing this conversation for sure.
Sounds great. Thanks again. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Awesome. Well, that is the end of our guests. I mean,
no,
unbelievable. What's that?
It went by so quickly.
I know. It's so crazy. Gracie, you did a fantastic job. Gracie has been busy, behind the scenes, her and Owen, creating all the questions to ask our guests and learning a lot about all of them. It's been fantastic. You were watching, Bob?
Yes, I must say, kudos to you, Gracie, and Owen and the others for your questions. They were excellent. Obviously, you did a lot of work in terms of coming up with those questions. And again, kudos to you for doing that and making the launch a great success.
Yes. So now is the time. If people have been following on Twitter and on different platforms, or if they're following here on YouTube, we want to show you the video that we put together. We'll quickly show you the website. We'll put that out so everybody can see it. But we really would love to see this challenge go across social media and get people talking and supporting Black History Ottawa, the Black Girl Hockey Club, and all the amazing guests that we've had on, looking at all of their different websites and the amazing things that they're doing.
Yeah, the guests, this has been an amazing day. And I think you would agree, Rebecca, as well as the girls. I think going into this, we weren't sure of how it would come off and perhaps the impact it has, but it's, the people, the guests that we've had, the questions, the great ideas that were coming forth with respect to making hockey safer and more welcoming was tremendous. There was a lot of knowledge and a great amount of exchange of ideas. I'm a little sad, I must say, that the NHL and Hockey Canada did not come forth and agree to participate in this, because they have some initiatives, perhaps as you are aware, underway. And it would have been nice, really nice to have the officials on to give us an idea of what they're doing and perhaps what they're planning. But having said that, again, it was great to hear from all of the people that did agree to participate. And for that, I am, as you are, truly grateful for their participation and input. And I just like to say that I think one thing that we, in terms of what we're all trying to do, I think can be best summed up by Barack Obama, who said, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And to me, that speaks volumes about what we're trying to do, as well as what the guest speakers have emphasized in terms of the efforts that they're undertaking from where they are.
100%. And I give the youth, so much credit for taking, the time to do something so meaningful. And we've had so many different people involved in this project. And that is exactly what we're trying to do at R.I.S.E. is have them see that they have a platform, they have a voice, and it's one thing to say something about it, but it's another to actually do something.
Yes.
So I'm going to show our video for everybody who's still watching, and just give me 1 second here. We'll get that going.
Can't send you an email.
No, I can't do anything right now. Just hold it.
Sorry. You can see me. That's not what we want to see. This is what we want to see. I want to share my sound. And this is, so this was our video that we started back in July, I believe.
Racism has no place in hockey, just as it has no place in the rest of society.
We can be, we must be, we will be
the change we want to see.
It's time for hockey to become
a safe and welcoming sport for all. We want to play in a game where no one will get left behind, feels excluded, or is worried about
hearing racial slurs
because of their race,
color, or
ethnic origin.
We want everyone
to feel safe, comfortable, and welcomed
in the hockey community,
where players
are recognized for their talent
rather than the color of their skin.
The time is now.
Equality,
inclusion, respect,
and a game free of racism
in all its forms. We need your help
to make it happen.
Join us in our challenge
to make hockey
more safe, inclusive, and welcoming.
To fight racism,
we say it's time. Blow the whistle
on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism. Blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism.
To make hockey safe, more inclusive and welcoming, it takes each of us to make a difference for all of us.
All right, so that is our promo for the challenge. And if you go on social media, you'll see how the challenge works. Gracie, do you want to explain how the challenge works?
So basically, what we're trying to do is make it kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge in a way where people are gonna nominate other people. So what you do is you basically do a trick with the puck. It doesn't matter where you are or what you do, but do a trick with the puck and then come to the screen, tell everyone that you're blowing the whistle on racism, and then nominate 3 people to do the same.
Yes, and then best thing to do is tag them on social media. We already warned Ron McLean that Bob, you had nominated him.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully see him on social media, and Gracie's got a few people she's nominating, and everybody else involved is going to be putting those out soon, and we're hoping to get that going. So please join us. We have one more video just to kind of show you the first part of it, and we have some young little special guests who joined us. I'm going to, sorry. Oh, so many things to move around here.
I'm Naomi Sandwich, and it's time to blow the whistle on racism. I'm Tammi, and it's time to blow the whistle on racism.
I'm Gracie Stocka, and it's time to blow the whistle on racism.
Hi, my name is Bob Dawson. It's time to blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism.
Blow the whistle on racism. Blow the whistle on racism.
All right. right. So we challenge everyone. We've got even some young kiddos challenging everyone to blow the whistle on racism.
Charlie's so cute.
Yes.